What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys another exciting top 10 list. If you guys are new here, feel free to click that subscribe button and that bell notification icon for more reviews, reactions, rankings, and more movie content. I love to do very cool rankings or top 10 lists, like my top 30 favorite films of all time or my favorite movie franchises. And another question I get asked most often is, Ryan, who are your favorite movie villains of all time? And this is it, guys. I'm going to be bringing you my top 10 favorite movie villains of all time. Look forward to next week where I'll be doing my top 10 favorite movie heroes of all time. But this week is the villains, and I want you guys to get down below in the comment section and let me know your guys' top 10 favorite villains in movies. Now, I know we are going to have completely different lists, and you're not going to agree with the majority of the picks on my list. If you don't agree, that is awesome. Let me know your list, and let's have a great conversation back and forth. I would love to see some villains I completely missed, because there's so many amazing iconic villains in cinema history. I'm going to start with the honorable mentions. I have 10 honorable mentions. I'll go through these very quickly. My first one is a very recent addition to the list. That is HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Perfect movie, Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, and one of the shining spots of that film was HAL 9000. Eric Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther, and Loki, Tom Hiddleston in the Avengers and the first Thor film. Eric Killmonger, fantastic villain right there. Michael B. Jordan, what a phenomenal performance he gave in Black Panther. He was for sure my favorite character in that film. And Loki, a very popular villain character in the MCU, turns into an anti-hero. Tom Hiddleston is perfectly cast as Loki. The dynamics with him and Thor is one of the most interesting storylines in the MCU. Arthur Fleck / the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, a newest addition to the list. And Joker was such a controversial film, but Joaquin Phoenix was easily the show stealer and carried that film on his back. Oscar well deserved. You may be kind of upset this didn't make the top 10, but I put Agent Smith from the Matrix trilogy. Now, Agent Smith is an iconic, very cool villain, and I love Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith. Definitely his most iconic villain role. Anton Chigurh, played by Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men. My favorite performance from Javier Bardem. His best villain role to date. Raul Silva's a good one, but Anton Chigurh, this was his Oscar-winning performance. Hans Landa, played by Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Basterds. Now, you may be shocked this didn't make the top 10 list, because another Tarantino villain actually did make my top 10 list. But Christoph Waltz, Oscar-winning performance as Hans Landa. Emperor Palpatine, just despite Rise of Skywalker, let's just completely forget about that. Emperor Palpatine is one of the most memorable parts of all of Star Wars. The prequel trilogy, seeing him rise to become the Emperor of the Galactic Empire, how he took over the Senate and the Jedi Council like that. And of course, Kylo Ren, so close putting him in the top 10 list, because Adam Driver is the best part of the sequel trilogy. And my last honorable mention is my favorite Pixar villain, that is Lotso Huggenbear. What an intimidating villain Lotso was in Toy Story 3. Just a really sad backstory with him. Those are my 10 honorable mentions. Fantastic villains, but I love 10 more. So let's get going. Coming in at my number 10 is going to be Koba from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, played by Toby Kebbell. Now, I'm a huge fan of the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy, if you can't tell. I loved Rise, Dawn, and War for the Planet of the Apes. And in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, we got introduced to Koba, but he didn't have much of a big part in that first movie. You got to see the humans experimenting on him, doing stuff on him. But then in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Koba is a big standout villain in that movie. He has a motivation that you can totally resonate with, but he goes about it in the completely wrong way. He hates the humans, he wants to kill the humans, but Caesar has an opposite view. They perfectly read out his character, and it was such an imposing character that you could resent with and understand where he was coming from and what he believes in with the humans. But he does some really bad stuff. He kills some apes, He hurt some apes, and you knew he had to be taken down. My number 9 is going to be an iconic action movie villain. That is the T-1000, played by Robert Patrick in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Now, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, one of my favorite action movies of all time, one of my favorite sequels, and I just love Terminator 2, and one of the best parts was the T-1000. Such an imposing villain right there. Robert Patrick as the T-1000, as a formidable match between Arnold Schwarzenegger, the T-800. He was sent on a mission to kill John Connor, and then you got Arnold protecting John Connor. And what an imposing villain this was. The first scene we see of the T-1000 with the liquid metal coming out of the fire, you're like, oh my goodness, how are they going to stop this guy? And the visual effects on him still hold up today. And the fact that the T-1000 has been done in other recent Terminator movies, and it looks awful, and it doesn't compare to what they did with the T-1000 in Terminator 2. Coming in at number 8 is going to be an iconic Disney villain, and it's a big sea witch, and that is Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Ursula is one of the most iconic Disney villains. A lot of people love Ursula. We all know the motivation of Ursula. She's trying to find King Triton's Triton and basically conquer the ocean, and just Ursula as a character, the way she manipulates Ariel into giving her her voice and just completely controlling Ariel's moves, constantly manipulating her. That's what makes the best villains, is constant manipulation and just getting what they want and just making it convincing. And Ursula is a very convincing villain, one of the best written villains in Disney history. Number 7 is a childhood classic villain for a lot of people. That is Lord Voldemort from the Harry Potter series, played by Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes was fantastic as Voldemort in these films. What a terrifying villain for me growing up, just watching Voldemort for the first time in Goblet of Fire, and how they written Voldemort, just as a madman who wanted to kill muggles and just non-magical beings. And Voldemort's mission was very intimidating from the start, and just seeing Harry and Voldemort's eventual build up to Deathly Hallows Part 2 facing off against each other was very well earned, very well epic as well, just throughout all these Harry Potter movies, hearing the mysteries of Voldemort and eventually paying off in the final film. And Ralph Fiennes, as I said, phenomenal as Voldemort. Bring me my detonators. Number 6 is Professor Snape as Hans Gruber. Alan Rickman, rest in peace. Hans Gruber in the first Die Hard movie. What a great movie Die Hard was. One of my favorite movies of all time. And Hans Gruber as the villain, the leader of the terrorists that are breaking into the Nakatomi Plaza. Hans Gruber made the first Die Hard movie so memorable by how very intellectual this villain was. He's constantly just talking to people, outmaneuvering people, threatening people. If he doesn't get what he wants, he will do anything to get what he wants. Very quotable, as well as, like I said, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. And just Alan Rickman, the way he talks just makes it so memorable. It's just iconic stuff. Now we go into my top 5. Coming in at number 5 is my favorite Tarantino villain. That is Calvin Candy, played by Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained. My favorite Tarantino movie. And Calvin Candy, Leonardo DiCaprio, how was he not even nominated and won Best Supporting Actor? Went to Christoph Waltz, very well deserved, but Leonardo DiCaprio as Calvin Candy was the highlight for me of that movie. Just such a really interesting, crazy villain in that movie. We spend about an hour of the film, close to an hour, just at Calvin Candy's ranch full of slaves, and his partner Steven Samuel L. Jackson, also such a funny, intimidating villain. And I just love Calvin Candy and Leonardo DiCaprio. Phenomenal performance in there. Leo should just play more villains from now on. He's so good as villains. In time, you will know what it's like to lose. That's right, number 4 is Thanos from Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. I think the best part about Thanos was just the build up to him. When we first saw him in the post-credit scene of the first Avengers movie, just turning his head, really not doing anything. But then we see him in Avengers Age of Ultron, Guardians of the Galaxy, and other movies, just sitting in his chair, waiting to make the moment, find the Infinity Stones. They set up Thanos right away doing the right thing. He beats the crap out of Hulk in the first 5 minutes of this movie. That shows how intimidating this guy is. He throws a moon at Iron Man, just constantly battles them on the Battle of Titan. And then in Endgame, he wasn't the focus of the movie, but it just shows how powerful Thanos was as a villain. He was able to accomplish his mission and just do it successfully. And in Endgame, it's just mourning what Thanos has done, and then we see, obviously, past Thanos from 2014 come into play here with the time travel. And it's a different Thanos from Infinity War because it's the past one, but still, Thanos is amazing. I love Thanos. Just they perfectly written Thanos, and Josh Brolin was perfectly cast as the character. Before I give you guys my top 3, if you are new to this channel and you're enjoying hearing my top 10 favorite movie villains, please hit that like button. It really helps with the algorithm. Seriously, guys, and consider clicking that subscribe button because I do tons of top 10 lists, ranking videos, movie reviews, and I do this on a weekly basis. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Scar from the 1994 Lion King movie, voiced by Jeremy Irons. Be prepared! Yes, Scar, my favorite animated movie villain, favorite Disney villain of all time, without competition. You guys knew Scar would be high up on the list. As Mufasa's brother, he's not the king, he's pretty jealous about that, and then Simba comes into the play and is gonna take his throne. And what does he do? He kills Mufasa and banishes his nephew from the Pride Lands. And Scar completely takes over Pride Rock. Scar, just how he is written, how he, just his dialogue. Jeremy Irons was a perfect choice to voice Scar. I do not know why they even decided to remake The Lion King, or why they didn't even recast him for Scar. Chiwetel Ejiofor is not that great in my opinion. But Scar in the 1994 Lion King is one of the greatest written villains in cinema. Top 2 is pretty predictable, I know, guys. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. Pretty obvious, is very favorable villain right here. The Joker debates pretty much is non-comparison. Don't compare Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger. They're two completely different adaptations. Heath Ledger's Joker is my favorite performance given by an actor in cinema. Just playing the most iconic comic book villain. Heath Ledger's coming off of Brokeback Mountain and 10 Things I Hate About You, but he's so good as the Joker. And the Joker's so connective. He just wants anarchy, and you understand his motivation. He's crazy about how he's going about it, but you understand where he's coming from. And he's such an imposing villain to Christian Bale's Batman in the film, constantly pushing him on the edge of becoming a villain almost. And Heath Ledger's Joker truly does win at the end of The Dark Knight when he turns Harvey Dent, Gotham's White Knight, into the crazy psychopathic villain at the end. And just Harvey Dent's iconic line came true. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think you guys know what my number 1 is. I am your father's cousin's boyfriend. Anyway, my number 1 is Darth Vader from the original Star Wars trilogy. My favorite movie of all time is Empire Strikes Back, and Darth Vader, favorite cinematic movie villain of all time, without a doubt. Just how Darth Vader is written throughout the entire Star Wars saga. Anakin Skywalker, just a young boy, the Jedi, the boy who lived, the boy who was meant to be the greatest Jedi in the world, but then just completely turns on the light side of the Force, betrays Obi-Wan, betrays Padme, betrays the Jedis, and just turns to the dark side under Palpatine's complete manipulation. You obviously know he's his father, and that's the most shocking twist that I'm sure everybody was blown their pants off by in the 80s. And then in Return of the Jedi, just to see that all pay off from his arc, killing his master Emperor Palpatine, and just turn into the dark side to turn into the light side to save his son's life. It's just powerful writing right there. Just Darth Vader, the way he's written out throughout the whole saga, is just perfect to me. So there you have it, guys. Those are my top 10 favorite movie villains of all time. Did you love my list? Did you agree with my picks? If not, I'm sure you disagree. If you do disagree, let me know your top 10 down below and let's have a great discussion. Thank you guys as always for watching this top 10 list. All my social media links are in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!